Hi, hello. Welcome to this course on object oriented programming using C++. In the first year, you have learned C language. In the second year, first semester, you'll be learning C++. Let me assure you that even if you do not know C, learning C++ is very easy. But if you know C, it will be much uh, comprehensive and you'll be understanding the concepts very easily. So my suggestion before starting of this course is please go back to your C programming course and see the functions and arrays and control structures, of course the first one, so that you'll be learning this course very easily and comfortably. So let me introduce myself. I am John Babu. I am head of the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at Vijay Engineering College, Khammam. So the objectives of this course is you must be introduced to object-oriented programming concepts using C++ language and introducing the principles such as object oriented programming concepts such as abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, what are virtual functions, and what is the relation between polymorphism and virtual functions, and how to handle formatted IO and unformatted IO, and how to handle the errors or exceptions. These are the course objectives. The outcomes means what you'll be capable of at the end of the course. You should be able to develop programs with reusability. You should be able to develop the programs for file handling. You should be able to handle exceptions in the program and develop applications for a range of problems using object-oriented programming techniques, so that when you go to the next semester, you will be learning Java, which is a pure object-oriented programming, and you can apply all these principles in Java. So it is all interconnected. If you learn C, C++ would be easy. If you learn C++ perfectly, Java would be very, very easy. If you know Java, web programming, web technologies would be very, very easy. Now, in the first unit, and if you see the syllabi, in the first unit you will see the basics of object-oriented programming and basics of C++. What are the operators, what are the expressions, what are the variables, what are arrays, pointers, break, continue, go to, and scope, and inline functions, recursive functions, pointers, dynamic memory allocation. That means almost all it is a big unit. It will take more classes, more than almost all 30 to 40 classes for the first unit, because it's very, very large. Whereas compared to other units, they are small. In the second unit, you will be learning about classes and data abstraction. Third unit, you will learn about inheritance and virtual functions. In the fourth unit, you will be handling the input-output, formatted input-output and unformatted input-output. And in the fifth unit, finally, you will be learning exception handling. So let us dive into this course. The first topic is, before we learn C++, before we go to the object-oriented programming concepts, first of all we should know what are the existing programming styles or paradigms. So a program or problem solving. In the first year, your course name was Principles of Problem Solving. For any computer engineer, the problem solving skills are very, very important. Mathematical solving skills are very, very important. So programming languages, they support different paradigms. What is a paradigm? To understand it simply, paradigm is something like a trend or fashion. So if you see the trousers of the gents in 1980s, people used to wear bell-bottom pants, and in 90s and mid 2090s, people used to wear baggy pants. Then you got bootcut, parallel. Now it is comfort fit. This is a trend. So even in programming, there are different trends and styles of programming. So you know different languages, C, C++, Java, Python, all these are languages. All these languages can be categorized as some paradigms, and all these paradigms can be condensed into some concepts. So the meaning of the paradigm, American Heritage Dictionary defines paradigm as an example that serves as a pattern, a model. Another dictionary says a philosophical and theoretical framework of a scientific school or discipline within which theories, laws, and generalizations and the experiments performed in support of them are formulated. So paradigm is a trend. For example, communication paradigms. In 1980s, the communication paradigm was only radio and landline telephones, very few landline telephones. In 90s, landline phones increased. In 2000s, mobile phones have come. Now we are in the paradigm of smartphones and touch phones. So next paradigm may be virtual. There will be no screen or there will be no physical device, and you may be having some virtual devices. So this is paradigm. So related term, programming paradigm is a pattern or a school of thought for programming of computers. Programming technique is the strategy for solving a class of problems. For example, one strategy is divide and conquer. Take a big problem, divide that problem into small pieces, solve one piece by one piece, and combine all those solutions, and you get the solution. This is divide and conquer, this strategy. Similarly, there is a style also, programming style, how we can express elegance or lack of elegance. Programming culture, this will be the whole behavior, paradigm, styles, programming technique, all these combined, we can call it as a programming culture. Now let us try to see the main paradigms in the programming. The first one was imperative programming paradigm. The second one is structural programming paradigm. Third one is procedural programming paradigm. Fourth one is functional programming paradigm. And fifth one is object-oriented programming paradigm. Others also there, we will not be studying about them, but still it's better to know the names. There is a visual paradigm, logical programming paradigm, and parallel paradigm, and constraint based paradigm. Now let us start with the first one, imperative. What is the meaning of imperative? Imperative can be an adjective or it can be a noun. Adjective, as an adjective, it is expressing a command or a plea, imperative, or a command. In other words, you can understand it as a command and order. So imperative paradigm means step by step. First do this, next do that. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It's a sequence of steps. So this can be explained with a phrase, first do this, next do that. That is the spirit of imperative paradigm. All are commands, sequential commands. You cannot skip the sequence. First to do this, next to do that is not equal to first to do that, then do this. First you have to do this, then that. You cannot reverse the order. So this is imperative. So it is based on the digital hardware technology and ideas of von Neumann architecture. Von Neumann architecture is an architecture where the instructions and data both are stored in the same memory. That is called von Neumann architecture. So incremental change of the program state as a function of time. With time, the program state will be changing. Execution of computational steps in an order is governed by control structures, something like if loop, something like that. We call the steps for commands. And in the imperative, the commands are assignments, input, output, procedural or functional calls. The example for these languages are Fortran, Algol, Pascal, Basic, C. Remember, one language may belong to different paradigms also. So it doesn't mean that one language is characterized by only one paradigm. It is not like that. C language is imperative paradigm as well as procedural paradigm. So it abstracts one or more actions in a procedure which can be called as a single command. So imperative, there can be many names can be used for each step in the imperative language. We can call it as a command or we can call it as an instruction. And a procedure or a function can be treated as a single command. The next paradigm is, so what is imperative paradigm? All commands, sequential commands. You cannot change the order. And a method or a procedure, for example, you have written a procedure or a function to calculate factorial. That whole factorial function, it may have 3 or 4 steps. It can be treated as single step or a single instruction. The second one is structured programming. To improve the clarity, everything is not a command. There are different types of structures. There is a selection structure. For example, if, then, else. There is a repetition, while, for, do, while. Block structure. Routine, subroutine, that means a function, subfunction. See, routine, procedure, function, method, all these are synonymous terms. So this type of programming was emerged in late 1950s with the invention of ALGOL 58 and ALGOL 60 programming languages. Here we have a structure. There is input-output statement, there is control selection, if then else, there is repetition, there are block structures, this block, that. Because this has come, Dijkstra, shortest path algorithm inventor Dijkstra, he made a publication in 1968. Go-to statement is considered harmful. So then he coined the term called structure programming. So your flow of the program will depend on the structure, not on go-to statements. From the structural programming, so what are there in structural programming? Structural program emuntai if and else ante selection, repetition, blocks, subblocks, functions, subfunctions. దాంట్లోంచి వచ్చింది ప్రొసీడ్యూరల్ ప్రోగ్రామింగ్. ప్రొసీజర్ అంటే ఏం చెప్పాను? ఫంక్షన్ కదా. ప్రొసీజర్ ఈజ్ ఆల్సో నోన్ యాజ్ రొటీన్, సబ్ రొటీన్ ఆర్ ఫంక్షన్. దే కంటైన్ series of steps. So in procedural programming we will try to call procedures or functions. Of course there is another paradigm called functional paradigm, but this was the time when it was called only procedure. So Pascal and C belong to this procedural programming. Before that, Fortran, Algol, COBOL, PIL, and basic. All these were procedural programming. So procedural programming, programming is divided into small parts called functions or procedures or subroutines or routines. Procedural programming follows an approach called top-down approach. Top-down approach means you will start the solving the problem at the top and you will come to the bottom. This is called top-down approach. In this, there are no access specifier in procedure. That means you might be wondering what is access specifier. One variable may be to be accessed by only certain people. That is called a private variable. There is a public variable which can be accessed by anybody. That type of facility is not there in procedural programming. Adding new data, adding new functions is not so easy. In fact, we are studying the disadvantages of procedural programming here rather than advantages. So procedural program does not have any proper way for hiding the data, so it is less secure. In program, certain data has to be accessed by only certain people. That type of security is not there in procedural programming or C. In procedural programming, overloading. What is overloading? What is overloading? Same function. Function name is the same, but implementation is different. That is overloading. That is not available. So it is based on unreal world. Functions are more important than data. Now, so we have seen imperative paradigm, structural paradigm. From the structural, we have seen procedural paradigm. Then very similar one, functional paradigm. The principle of modularity. That means we want the program to be moduled, to be divided into different parts or module. It is very similar to procedural language because both functional as well as procedural are the children of the structural programming only. Procedures means functions. Both allow the reuse of the same code in various parts of the program at various points of execution. But the main difference is the functional programming languages remove the imperative element. దీని తర్వాత ఇది అనేటువంటి ఒక imperative sequence ఏదుందో that is not there in functional programming. Except that, remaining is same. So we always deal with pure functions. In procedure, there is a step-by-step sequence. In functional, you can break that sequence. The functional paradigm is derived from theory of functions, purely mathematical, and it is considered as more clean than other paradigms. The strategy or the phrase in imperative, first do this, then do that. In functional paradigm, evaluate expression and use the result value for something. First evaluate the expression. This is functional paradigm. So it is derived from mathematics and theory of functions. The values produced cannot be changed, and you can make a revised copy of a composite value. A function can be treated as a single expression. Functions are full-fledged data. Something function is a small program. So this has opened a new world of possibilities. There are many functional languages. They are not purely functional, but they are imperative, they are procedural, and some of them have object-oriented properties also. So popular functional programmings are Lisp, Python, Erlang, Haskell, Clojure, etc. Now, coming to the main aspect, object oriented programming approach.